Hi everyone, I'm Preston Silverman. I'm co-founder and CEO of RaiseMe. Really excited to talk to you today. We're on a mission to empower all students to discover and realize their college ambitions. We think this is one of the greatest challenges facing the country today. Many of you in the audience are probably familiar with the stats that nearly 2/3 of jobs now require a college degree. Since the recession, 80% of jobs created require a college degree, and the earnings gap has continued to grow. On top of that, the cost of college is rising. Millions of students are in debt. So we think this is one of the biggest challenges facing the country. And we feel really honored to have an opportunity to work on it. One thing a lot of people don't realize is that every year in the US, colleges and universities are awarding nearly $60 billion in scholarships and grants to help students pay for college. And on top of that, they're spending nearly $10 billion to recruit and enroll these students. So even though they're spending a lot of money to support these students, we've seen there's a real disconnect, and that's creating a lot of challenges for our students. So I want to talk a little bit about that problem and then talk about RaiseMe overall. The challenge that we've seen is today, all these scholarships and grants aren't awarded until after students are supposed to have already decided whether and where to apply to college. And for many students, that's far too late to impact their college ambitions or application decision. And as a result, students have to make this really important decision about where they're going to go to school, how much money they're going to spend, with very limited insight into the grants that are ultimately going to have a big impact on the total cost of attendance for them. For the schools, this creates a problem because even though they're awarding billions of dollars in scholarships to students, students have already decided whether and where they're going to apply to schools. So they're missing out on an opportunity to use those funds to actually get the students that they want to apply to their school in the first place. With RaiseMe, we're flipping this paradigm on its head. And instead of waiting until after students have applied and been admitted to college to award the funds, we enable them to earn it as they go throughout high school based on their individual progress and development and their unique skills and talents. So students are able to accrue what we call micro scholarships because they earn them in small chunks as they go, but it can add up to a really significant amount. Our average senior last year got $23,000 in scholarships and grants through the platform. We're seeing it have a real impact on students as well. In addition to the financial outcomes, students are applying to college and more motivated. Over 80% of students report feeling more confident applying to college. They're taking on more rigorous coursework, and they're feeling more motivated to get better grades because they're seeing the direct impact of how they're doing in school today impact their future career. And almost 2/3 of students are exploring new activities, getting involved in their community, taking on community service projects, or taking on a leadership role in different organizations because of their inclusion in RaiseMe. Ultimately, we're seeing these students also apply and get admitted to college at higher rates as well. I'll let you hear just for a second from students themselves.
RaiseMe has allowed me to view my options and see that there's a lot more out there that I wasn't really aware about.
You get to think more about like what college would fit most for you rather than would you even be able to afford it.
RaiseMe did a great job. Before I even got my acceptance letter, I knew that they would have at least $8,000 to give me each year. So I chose Northeastern. Go Huskies.
So let me show you a little bit about how it actually works. Students are able to build a portfolio on RaiseMe. You can think of it like LinkedIn for students. They can add all their courses, their extracurricular activities, their test scores, all the types of things that students are doing throughout high school as they go. They can discover different colleges and universities on the platform that might be a good fit for them academically and financially as well. And they choose to follow those schools. And as they accomplish these different milestones and they build their portfolio, they're unlocking scholarships and grants from schools in real time. So you can see a student here adding AP course that they took. They got an A. They add it to their portfolio. When they do that, we have partnerships on the back end with over 300 colleges and universities now. And we're able to give students real-time feedback and let them see their scholarships towards those institutions go up immediately. So students really appreciate that instantaneous feedback and the transparency of knowing at least a minimum amount of scholarship or grant aid they'll receive from that institution. In addition to the student experience, we're building portals for colleges and universities that enable them to engage these students that have expressed interest in their school. They can message them, all the types of things you could probably expect. And we're also building a portal for college guidance counselors as well. John mentioned earlier that on average, students only get 30 minutes with their high school guidance counselor. We're trying to make that the most impactful 30 minutes possible so that when a student goes in to meet with their counselor, they can pull up the student's portfolio, see all the things they've done, what schools they're interested in, how much scholarship money they've had, what their gap in financing would be towards those schools, and really be as supportive to the student as possible during that time. We've been seeing great growth over the year. We now have over 1.8 million students on the platform, students in 3 out of every 4 schools across the country. The vast majority of that growth is coming from word of mouth. We have about a third of guidance counselors in the country that are using our platform as well. And what's really exciting is when they get involved, we can see really high penetration in schools, as high as 90% of the students. As I mentioned, we have 300 college and university partners, including many of the largest schools in the country, like ASU, Penn State, Georgia Tech, many others, as well as elite institutions like Chicago, Penn, Carnegie Mellon. Our schools collectively represent about 25% of all the application volume in the U.S. today. And students have earned over $4 billion in scholarships and grants through the platform. So how do we make money? I get that question a lot at this conference. It's free for students. We monetize through the colleges and universities. They pay us annual reoccurring subscription that's correlated with the application volume they're receiving. So those subscriptions only increase when they're seeing real ROI from their program. We think that works really well because when the application happens, that's the perfect match. A student has found a school they're really interested in, and the school is getting that student's application. We see there are really strong network effects with our program. The more colleges and universities we have on the platform in a certain area, the higher the growth rate, the more interest and engagement we see from students, and vice versa. The more students we have on the platform, the more colleges and universities are excited to participate. In the interest of time, I'll skip over this for the most part, but what I wanted to say here is that really different types of schools are seeing impact from their programs. Selective school, private school like Northeastern, saw that the students coming through RaiseMe, they're admitting at much higher rates, and they're actually yielding at way higher rates, which is really important for the institution. And for a school like FIU, one of the largest public schools in the country, nearly 40% of their incoming class this year is coming from RaiseMe, and it's an extremely diverse student population as well, which is in line with their mission and what they're trying to accomplish in shaping their class. So we feel we're just getting started. We focused on the financial component because we know that's the biggest barrier for students and families today, but we believe by building this platform and network, there's a lot of opportunity to deepen our engagement and support for students throughout their journey, not just to college, but all the way through college as well. So please stay on the lookout for news from us in the future. So I'll end with that. Would love to connect with any university administrators that are here, any investors, or any high school counselors or principals that happen to be in attendance. You can email me at preston@raise.me. Thank you very much.